You just heard Star Period Star Twilight Saving Time is the album, the tune All on Fire. What a freaking song. That was awesome. Really, really great. How's it going, Dan? Thank you so much for joining us.
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is a really great record. Thanks for sending it over to me. And I got a physical copy, which is so nice.
Ah, yeah.
It's always nice to have physical media, you know. It just sounds better. The sound quality is so much better than Spotify or any of those. So thank you for that. Tell me a bit about this record and how you came up with it, and how it was a follow up to Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah. And I actually got a copy of, I pulled out a copy of Daylight Spending Time.
Oh, Spending Time. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. You know, what happened was a long time ago, we did some improvs and we used to record our improvs onto cassette tape and
Yeah.
then burn them onto a CD just for our own amusement. And I remember calling one of the improvs Daylight Spending Time and the other one Twilight Saving Time, but we never put it out. And I love those titles. And so one of the things that happened was my bass player recommended getting into this C9 guitar tuning. And what was great about it is it kind of got me out of my ruts, you know, my habits. And so you'd put your fingers in the same position and you get a whole different result. And it was kind of like, oh gosh, I can actually surprise myself, you know. And
Yeah.
so all these it kind of lended itself to getting a lot of more like major, minor seventh chords and ninths and different kind of things, which I really love. So conceptually the two albums sort of go together because they're both kind of loosely based on this idea of highlighting different moments in U.S. history. And in the case of All on Fire, it got its title from a quote from William Lloyd Garrison. He was an abolitionist, and he had a newspaper called The Liberator. And one of his quotes was, "I have a need to be all on fire, for I have mountains of ice to melt." And man, when I heard that line, it just brought chills down my spine. And it's like, I got to use that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great. Was that a book that you read, or just kind of a snippet somewhere that you saw that?
Yeah, it was a biography of William Lloyd Garrison, called All on Fire. And right now, my mind is drawing a blank who the author is. So I feel terrible about that because he came up with the title. um,
Yeah,
but it's a great book. I'm sure you can find it. Do a search for it online. Um,
sure.
but it was a really, what was kind of nice for me is I kind of got tired about speaking from my own experience in life, and kind of got this idea from seeing what other writers did, where they would do talk about some kind of interesting event that happened in history or some important person from history and get a whole song out of it. And that really, I found that I got a lot of inspiration from that, because these people went through so much intense stuff emotionally that in some ways I think we can all kind of relate to some of the things these people went through, in our own sort of way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've always thought that music is a great place to kind of talk about these things that a lot of people are now like, arguing about or not having the best conversations about, but to put it in music, especially with history, is a great way to kind of remind ourselves of what came before. And I think this record does that. The cover itself is very interesting and beautiful, and looks a lot like a historical kind of timepiece. Tell us about the cover and who created this.
Yeah, what happened was, a long time ago, we had put out one of our first release, which was a 7-inch record on green vinyl. And this magazine in England called Organ Magazine, they wrote, they just absolutely loved it. It was a couple songs. One was Drowning, and the other one was called Black. And anyway, Sean from Organ Magazine, um, Sean Worrell, he's a painter. And I noticed that, I became friends with him on Facebook. And I noticed that a lot of his paintings were kind of square shaped, like perfect for an album cover. And I thought, I love the textures of his abstract painting. And so I asked him to combine that with some pictures of different characters from the album that we talk about. So we got Garrison on there, and we got Stephen Mather and Harvey Wiley, the Poison Squad. It's all kind of buried underneath the textures of the paint. It's kind of funny too. When I didn't think about this, but the name Star Period Star, the symbol, kind of makes you think of the Stars and Stripes. It just dawned on me. You'd think
I
I would
love
have thought
that
about that.
in real
Um,
time.
yeah, yeah. So he was a very talented painter. He did a great job. And then Marina Organ from Organ Magazine did the graphic design for us. I was
Cool.
really happy with that album cover.
It's great. It draws me in, and when I got it, I love the pop of color and kind of the color scheme to it. Um, I do need to know, I mean, tell me why Star Period Star? Where did that name kind of come from, and how long have you guys been a band?
Yeah, the what happened was I was working in a mailroom a long time ago at an insurance company, and this guy used to come in to work on to do updates on the computer system, and he would go in and type star period star or star dot star into the computer. And one day I asked him, "What is that?" Because it sounded, it's funny. It sounded mysterious to me, like I could see like some kind of weird cult named Star Period Star that would gather for events or
Yeah,
something and have a
totally.
big fire and do
Yes.
sacrifices or something. I don't know. My imagination, for some reason, got something out of that symbol, but it actually means all the files in all the folders. And wow, that's a great name, because it's kind of like saying everything from the beginning to the end. Yeah, which would be a great name for a band. So I kind of filed it away, and then it was like around '93 that I was recording what was supposed to be a follow-up to one of my solo albums with Chris Block from Pure Accident, the bass
Oh,
player, and
yeah.
he was the original bass player in that band, and then Dan Van Schindel, who was the drummer. And as we started working on it, it seemed like more of a band concept. The music sounded more bandy than solo artist music. So I dug up the name Star Period Star, and Chris came up with the original logo for it. And that would have been 93, and then our first release was that green vinyl 7-inch record in 94.
That's great. Wow, I love it. So this has been going on for many years, and it's been evolving, and kind of going with what's going on in the world, which I love. I wonder what Star Period Star did for it was. I'm sure it was a basic command for DOS or something like that. But I wonder what that what it would do. Would it open something up? Would it, like, what was its function?
I know when he would type it in, all of a sudden all these files would come, zipping
Yes.
by. And so maybe if you were looking for a file, perhaps I don't know too much about DOS, but that was a DOS command. That's right.
That's amazing. I love that. That's totally, I think kids these days wouldn't even know what that is. So it's kind of fun to travel back and go, oh, computers weren't just type in whatever you want in a browser. you know.
Yeah, and I like the idea of having a band name that can be spelled out as words or used as a symbol.
Absolutely.
So yeah, of course, when you're talking to people or people doing a Google search, they're going to have to spell it out because you get weird results if you just try to type star dot star into even into Google. You get weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I just
Uh,
tried. It kind of looks like a like when you do type in an asterisk dot and then an asterisk from far away, it kind of looks like a face or it's like a smiley, kind of two eyes
yeah,
and a nose. So it's kind of that's very cool. I like that it's written out as well as a symbol, like you said. It could be both. Um, what's your favorite track on the newest record?
well, personally, I was really happy with the way All on Fire. There's a few of them. Poison Squad. I like Albright Mather too because it's kind of Albright Mather is sort of different because it's instrumental and it's like a kind of like what I would call an acoustic epic. Like I used to love Steve Howe when he would do those from Yes when he would do those solo acoustic things.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I thought, well, what if you did like a longer? Like I was really getting into the Grand Canyon, and I was listening to the Grand Canyon Suite and a lot of music that was based on some of the Ken Burns stuff. And I thought, what if I did like an acoustic piece, but rather than have be like a short little solo 2-minute thing, how about making it a whole band thing and having various crescendos happen, and then it goes down and kind of builds up again to another crescendo. And so that song has like about 3 major sections that kind of peak out at some point. And so it feels like I wanted people to feel like they were in the parks and going on a long hike, and you see different cool things and along the way, like a little kind of musical journey kind of experience. And Twilight Saving Time, the title cut, I like the whole way Albright Mather goes through the ambient thing and then to the kind of bombastic means of production into Twilight. It's kind of, in a way, it's kind of like uh, it makes me think of a little bit of Genesis, the way they
Mm,
would have like those big medleys and then they'd end with Afterglow or something really big.
totally. Yeah.
Um, and there's some chords in there that our keyboardist plays that remind me of Gershwin a little bit too, which I really love because that was totally out of the scope of anything I've done before. Um,
Very cool. Very cool. So you've got a little bit of a prog influence, with the Yes and the Genesis, or just the idea of wanting to kind of create something like that. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, and I think the way that we first started talking was that you did an interview with John Anderson. Is that correct?
Yes, a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah. So I think I already knew, of course, about ZRD for years. I've known about you guys, and then I somehow stumbled upon you in Facebook talking about your John Anderson interview, and
Oh,
I thought, oh, that's really cool. So we kind of started talking from there. I remember.
Oh, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, no, that was the last one that we did was a Zoom, and it was so much fun. He was so down to earth, and it's just one of my favorite, absolute favorite bands is Yes. So that's great. Thanks for reminding me. That's where we connected.
Yeah,
uh,
I tell a lot of people, Yes are like my Beatles, because each
yeah,
individual member of that band is kind of like a superstar to me. And there's so much talent, and their personalities are just I just really really fell in love with that band.
absolutely. I'm guessing you've seen them a ton of times, or a
Yeah,
couple, two,
yeah,
three.
I've seen them in Chicago a few times. And yeah, I've had a few occasions. uh, yeah, and I was one of those people that got topographic oceans and sat around like a geek all day and tried to figure out what all the lyrics were about, and got the autobiography of a yogi because I wanted to study. So it's like a total.
Yes.
This album here that we're talking about, it feels has got more pop elements in it. Kind of after you write a song, sometimes you will listen to it and you think, oh, I hear a little bit of this and I hear a little bit of that. Um, so I kind of hear a lot of things in there that are not prog rock things, but
Sure.
like maybe Laura Nero or Burt Bacharach or something. I hear a lot of different things in my head after the
Totally.
fact. Uh, but that's kind of my, as growing up and everything, that was the kind of music that really resonated with me. It was like a religious experience getting into that kind of music.
Oh yeah.
Um, when you're young, you're very single minded and you have your point of view and you can't imagine anyone else in the world. Like, why everybody would love this music if they just heard it.
Yeah,
So,
seriously. Yeah, no, it's true. And that band, I think there's a couple of their pop tunes that people know. I didn't know actually that Owner of a Lonely Heart was Yes until I was at the House of Blues as a young person, and we're in the bathroom and we're like, this isn't their song. Oh, it is. It's just so different than what I fell in love with. But I love that you're saying that after you listen to, your record, you're hearing some of these different things come out that you didn't intend to happen, but oh, that kind of sounds like Bacharach, or that sounds like Steve Howe or something. So that's kind of fun, I bet, to go back and to be surprised about it, huh?
yeah. And one thing I've kind of learned too is I've kind of learned to embrace my voice the way it is and just be cool with it and not try to make it into something else. Because in the early days of writing, you tend to be more derivative and you get into a certain band for a while. Like I've had different bands throughout the years that I got real fanatical about. Um, and and then you'd be like trying to write a song. Oh, I'm going to write something that's like this thing here. And then I got that out of my system, and then you're left and you start to discover who you are as a person and what you're really about. uh,
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. Thanks for sharing that with us, Dan. We're talking to Dan Sweigert here on The Wizard, all about his band Star, period Star. And we wanted to have you on before so we could promote your Reggie show. But how did that go? I know you were with Sonus Umbra, Mystical Hot Chocolate, and Endeavors, or maybe it's Mystical Hot Chocolate Endeavors. How was that show? What was that like?
it was a great experience. One of the things that was great about all the shows that we did going to and from was that in every instance I could always see the audience, because sometimes the lights are in such a way that you really can't see anybody, which is always kind of, so it's really nice because you could really feel in real time that communication that you had with them. uh, that was really meaningful to me, and the people were really very receptive and really paid attention. Sometimes you play shows and people are sitting at the bar and kind of not really listening. And one thing I like to do too in a show is have quiet moments and a lot of dynamics where we're not trying to blow their heads off all the time. And uh, and so it was great to play for those kind of audiences because they really just got engrossed in it. Yeah, and in Chicago, one thing that was really nice bonus of Reggie's I didn't realize was they kind of do a live stream of the show, and so they've shot like a very professional video of that show, and then it's also you can see it on YouTube. Uh, yeah, so what we did was we just played this album because I like this album a lot, and usually we'll play a couple songs from this album, a couple from that, and we've got like 5 studio albums, so we kind of mix it up. But I like the arc of this whole album so much. I wanted people to hear it just the way it was, and so that's what we did. And there's a little bit of improvisation, kind of about 3/4 of the way into the album, so we do get to kind of make up some things that they won't hear any other night. But that was really satisfying experience. I like the idea of taking some kind of you hope is kind of magical, and okay, can I do it in Louisville and then Chicago and St. Louis, and make that music happen at all these different places live. That's really important to me to be able to pull that off.
It's amazing. I mean, that's great. And like you said about Reggie's, I was there this past Tuesday, and someone could see me in the crowd across the way, and I couldn't believe it. They're like, "Is that her?" And I'm like, "How can you see me? That never happens." So I'm glad to hear that you're able, because that really does connect you. That audience participation in the sense of you can see people enjoying themselves. You can also see them enjoying the quieter moments, and just being kind of present in the room. So I'm really glad to hear that Reggie's was a good time, and then also those videos that they're doing, um, really professional videos, and
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
it's like
realize.
I was telling people, hey, you want to see a video of us playing live that's not from our iPhone, that actually
Right.
looks like we were on a TV show or something. I mean, it was just awesome.
And they did it
Yeah,
live.
and
They did stream that live too, or was it just
yeah,
recorded
they
and then?
streamed it live, and then they it was great because then there's also a recording of the entire show with all 3 bands,
Oh,
and then
cool.
they chopped it up so you can see the individual performances of each band, and they're all up
Oh,
on YouTube.
cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I think one of the things about being able to see the audience, like what you're talking about, is that you feel like you're communicating with somebody. And like a lot of times with my vocals, I don't like to have a lot of reverb and echo and stuff on my voice because I want it to feel like I'm right in the room with you, and that it's me and you, and we're just having a conversation more than uh, that kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but but yeah, and fortunately they did that for me at the different places we played at. We had a nice clean sound. Usually the room, there's enough echo in some of these rooms anyway. You don't need to add anything to it.
So true. I know some people, I do sound at some places, and sometimes they're just like, I want it all. I want as much as you can give me. And then other times, and you're like, okay, but other times you're like, well, this room is kind of reverby, so you tell me. But I like that you kind of want to be more en natural because, it's just kind of I don't know, more straightforward way to hear your vocals. But I'm a huge proprietor of like being an audience member. You have a real place in this whole thing too. It's part of the experience for you guys to have people resonate with your music, to see their reactions, and to be able to communicate, on stage. Like you said, it's not like you're straight talking to me, but you are, and you're talking to everybody. And it's very, when bands, I think, embrace that, it means so much to me as an audience member.
I don't know if I'm not sure if I got the right person, but it might have been, there's this band called Idaho, and they did kind of that slowcore. I don't know what you'd call their style, but very emotional. And Jeff Martin, I think, is the guy. He might have said this, I'm not sure, but it was kind of the idea that the audience members have had, I'm going to paraphrase the hell out of this actually. The audience members have had a whole life of their own, and all their kind of emotions and experiences that they've gone through.
Uh-huh.
And their reaction and their their contribution to what you're feeling and where you all meet in that is really the most meaningful thing in the world to anybody that makes music, especially someone who puts it out there and performs it live. No point in performing live if you don't care how they're feeling. it's
Absolutely.
it's all about that opportunity to have a connection with people. Uh, that kind of makes it for me.
Me too, and I think I didn't really pay attention to it, even though I've been an active audience member for so long, uh, until COVID happened. That's when I really realized how much I missed that kind of face to face, being in the room, and then the networking too. Like a lot of bands, and I'm sure you guys do this if you have merch, you're coming off the stage and you're trying to meet the people that are coming to support you, and not just to sell them merch, but to also just say, hey, thank you for coming, and like you said, maybe take a glimpse into their lives. What brought you here today? So I think that's a really beautiful thing to have that, and Chicago has such a platform for that, where they let you go and just hang with the artists and be able to kind of talk to each other. So very cool that you like that and that you embrace that.
I think that a lot of the when we're doing that little tour, that's what keeps you up till 1 or 2 in the morning, because you
Yeah.
could just go play your set and then just ignore everybody and go to the hotel room or something so that you could get to sleep at a reasonable hour. But for us, because we don't do this full time, I think it makes it where you savor it a lot more when you actually have that opportunity. It's more special. It's not just it's not a job or anything. You're not counting on it for your living. Um, but yeah, so you end up getting to the hotel room at 2:30 in the morning, or your friend's house, or
Right.
wherever you're staying. Yeah, but it's worth it because you do. That's what's cool about it, is getting to hang out with all these different people, and you making new friendships, and the support and the love was really great. I mean, I remember at one point we were playing in St. Louis where the singer from Zantigo, St. Louis band, she was going around and she took apparently we were doing the donation thing at that show, and she's going around to the audience, hey, whatever. And I felt like they had already pitched in, a pretty good amount. But just
Yeah.
the thought that she would bother to do that, these guys are coming from out of town, and yeah, and just all the people that kind of help you along the way.
Hmm.
It was really, it was cool. It kind of makes you realize that as crappy as things are, when you watch the news, everything seems like we're so screwed. But then you get out there and you see, in certain situations, in different towns, there's kind of a sense of community. Like there's one woman who's an artist, in where was that, Raleigh, and she wanted to send a gift to us. So she's going to mail a gift out to us. I don't know what it's going to be, but
Yeah.
just the thought that someone would bother, to do that, it means a lot to us.
Absolutely. I think that's huge. I really do. I love that. I love when somebody from, an audience is interested enough to keep with it. I love getting messages from people that get turned down from bands on the show, and they said, I went and checked this band out, and now we're fans for life, or we're bringing them, some of our stuff or a gift. So that's beautiful to hear that she's gonna send you something, and it's a surprise. I love a good surprise.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
That's wonderful. I love that. Do you guys have any shows coming up for the summer?
We don't have anything yet, but we'll see what pops up. I'm talking to some people about some different possibilities, and yeah, so the focus lately has been, we just did that one tour, and one of the things that happened is our the guitarist on our album. I'm a guitarist, but we have another guitarist in the band named Pat Hamilton. He's been with me for, God, like almost 20 years now, and he is on dialysis. So he can't, he was thinking maybe he could do dialysis on the road, and eventually he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And I knew he wanted to do it, obviously. And and so we ended up recruiting a guy named Lane, who I had seen in a band called Doom Salad, and he's a phenomenal guitar player. And this guy works so hard for us. He like played some guitar parts, some of the keyboard parts, and handled some of the vocals because our keyboardist couldn't go on the road either. So we were missing two people. So Lane pretty much filled like the roles of about two and a half people. To be honest, it was just amazing.
Oh
Uh,
wow, I love that.
and, and he has a band currently now. I'll just plug, I mention them. They're really, really great, kind of avant-garde, jazzy type music called Yerfdas. It's Yerfdaas, and their stuff goes down really well when they play live. People seem to really appreciate them, um, and I really fell in love with all those guys from that whole group of musicians. So it was really great that he was into stepping in, and he was talking about some other shows as well down the road. So goals to try to keep, the anybody. The goal now is going to be like when we have a show somewhere, who can go do it? Like Pat can go do a show if we just go down for a day or a weekend somewhere to just see who's available and then practice accordingly. Okay, this is who we got, and it's time to record. This is who we have, who's writing and playing. And so the band has sort of a core membership, but it also has some flexibility so that we don't have to turn things down so much if it's at all possible. Something we really want to do that kind of frees us up and uh, to pursue different things.
Absolutely, that's great. Sounds like you guys are busy. You're having fun. What's your day job? Like, what do you do, or what have you done in the past to support the music?
Oh, I've done a lot of different things. I'm very lucky because I get to work from home.
Nice.
Some people might not want to work from home. I know some people that are like, oh, I like having a schedule or having. I don't know. I don't need a schedule. I can create a schedule.
Yeah,
Really, I'm very good at planning my day, so I don't need anyone else to do it for me necessarily. Um, but yeah, so I create like online. I guess you could say kind of like online training. And right now, like I was doing actually training for teachers at Chicago Public Schools for a while.
oh
That
nice.
was kind of neat. Yeah. And I still work for that same client doing some stuff for different school systems throughout the US. Um, and it's kind of an interesting job because you can be talking about anything. The subject matter can be anything from how to de-ice an airplane to how to teach teaching methods for autistic children to one was about how to manage wildfires in Alaska.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
it's super fun. I mean, it's really cool because then you kind of think, okay, how can I make that, get some pictures and some things together to make it an engaging experience. Um, and so it is nice that I kind of fell into uh, this because it does have a creative side to it as well.
Absolutely. That's really cool. That's why, for some reason, I was getting, teacher vibes or CPS vibes. So I was like, maybe there's something there. I love that. But
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, I have yet to like fully work from home. I do a lot of my music business stuff from home, but I think I'd be the type that would love that too. Just to have the time to be home, have the time to create, and it's less stressful getting out. But I get too where people want to get out of the house. I'm sure you do that as well. Are you a Chicago born and raised, or are you from somewhere else?
Yeah. I grew up in a town, Batavia, Illinois.
Oh, nice. I'm a St. Charles
Uh,
kid.
yeah. You know that area then. Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, to anybody who doesn't know about Batavia, if you're ever watching a science program and they talk about Fermilab or National Accelerator Laboratories, uh, that's where they would smash atoms. They had a big ring underneath the ground, and they would smash atoms to see what was inside of them. Uh, and Batavia is known as the windmill city because I guess, and there's a lot of limestone too. That's another thing. There are limestone quarries, so a lot of old buildings are made out of limestone.
They have the quarry there too, right? Where you can swim in the limestone quarry.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about then. Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
kind of
took
forgot
a
about that.
old limestone quarry that filled it up with water and made it into a swimming pool.
It's pretty awesome. I loved going there as a kid. You're right. Batavia has a lot of different things, and Fermilab is definitely something we grew up with. You know, being from St. Charles, we'd pass by, and there would be buffalo, and we're like, "What's going on there?" It wasn't until I got older, started to understand a little bit more of the dynamics that go on there. But that's a pretty cool town to be from. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much most of my time in Illinois was there, and then I lived in different parts, Hoffman Estates, Naperville, even was on the north side of Chicago for a brief period. Yeah, and then we ended up moving down to South Carolina, and now I'm living near. Actually, even though I'm in South Carolina, I'm closer to the city of Savannah, Georgia, than anything else. So I'm
Okay.
like right in between Hilton Head Island and Savannah, Georgia, in a little town called Bluffton. And in some ways, Bluffton reminds me a little bit of Batavia because it's really grown a lot, and it's just this nice little. Well, it's not even little; it's actually gotten huge. Bluffton
Yeah.
has so many places. Um,
True. Really has. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for giving me just a little bit of background about where you're from as well. Um, so where can people get if they want to get these albums? Are they still available for purchase? Can they get them from a website, or they got to get them at the shows?
well, you can get them on Bandcamp. A lot of people like going to Bandcamp, so they just do a. I would just search for Star Period Star on Bandcamp.com, and then also on eBay. We're talking, I'm talking physical copies, and of course
Yeah.
on Bandcamp you can get downloads as well. The nice thing about Bandcamp, and I think a lot of musicians will tell you this, that most musicians love Bandcamp because they frankly get to keep the lion's share of the money. Bandcamp doesn't have huge charges, and there's even
Yeah.
like a time of the month, like First Friday or something. They have some kind of thing where Bandcamp Friday where they don't even charge anything. They just all the money goes to the band. Uh, it's
I
a
love
really
that.
great way. So you can do downloads. You can kind of test the songs out. Listen to them. I think maybe about 3 times before they ask you to pay anything.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of get a feel for it. Uh, yeah, so that's one of the ways. And there's some distributors, that carry it as well. Uh, but that's kind of the primary way in the U.S. Now in Europe, probably not going to have a lot of listeners in Europe, but I did get distribution with Musea Records for people because there's a lot of people in Europe that like this kind of music. Uh,
Yeah.
so then they don't have to pay the insane shipping charges, and uh, as you can imagine, shipping a CD is not cost effective
No, it's
to
not.
Europe.
Not to Europe.
So
No.
so we kind of get around that by having this distributor in France
Oh, cool.
that handles it. So they've been very helpful and very supportive throughout the years.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, and Bandcamp Friday is a really cool thing that started back in the COVID days. I think it was March of 2020, and they waived their revenue share and passed the funds directly to artists and labels. So that's resulted in millions of fans paying over $120 million directly to labels and musicians. So Bandcamp is a really good place to go, and it looks like the next Bandcamp Friday will be August 1st. So that's kind of cool. September 5th, October 3rd, and December 5th. I don't know if there should be some in July and June. We'll see. But according to Bandcamp, this is their they're listing, but how cool that that goes directly to you guys. And very cool that you have physical copies because a lot of people don't do that anymore. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, there's some small possibility we might do vinyl, but I wanted to see how now the previous album, Daylight, actually that's in vinyl.
Oh, cool.
It's show you. This is that
Ooh,
album, and it's
beautiful.
on something. I guess you call it smoked vinyl. It's like a clear vinyl, but then it has like these misty black cloud type things on it. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, I really love the look of it. So this album you can get on vinyl, and then all the other ones are well, I can't say all the other ones. Some of them are. I don't have any copies left of the first two
Yeah.
albums, but the latest one is on Digipack CD,
Very cool.
and yeah, and I don't have too many CDs of the previous album, but I have a lot of the vinyl. So just depends on what
Amazing.
your preference is.
Cool. Well, thank you for telling us that, and thanks for showing us. We are on Zoom, everybody, so that's why we can see each other. This will go up on YouTube after we get it all recorded, and so everybody can see those kind of pictures and things. But I'm gonna play one more song as we head out of this. What song from Twilight Savings Time should I end with?
You want to do Poison Squad?
I was just reading those lyrics actually. Yeah, let's read this here. Dare I eat the fare not knowing what is in there? The table set for me, old borax needs me now. You say it won't turn me blue, formaldehyde is good for you. And the ass is there to keep the servings fresh. I won't read the whole thing, but tell us about this tune. Give us a lead in.
Yeah, it was a there was a chemist named Harvey Wiley, and he was he grew up in a time where everyone had a garden and they made their own food, and then right around the time of the Industrial Revolution, which this is kind of the early 1900s when Teddy Roosevelt was president, and 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 anyway, Teddy Roosevelt was out with the Rough Riders one time, and he's opened up these canned meat, and it was all green and putrid. And they were discovering that they're putting a lot of chemicals and a lot of really dangerous stuff in the food, and gross stuff in the milk. Like grains that had been ground up, and it would sort of create this fake look of. And it's like it's all designed to make it seem fresh or something. Hard to
Right.
imagine, but yeah. So Harvey Wiley decided to he put an ad out, and he got these generally young guys to. He would serve them meals with little bits of these different chemicals in the food to test them to see
Mm-hmm.
how they would react to it, and if they started to get sick, then he would cut it off. And he kept records. So he was kind of very key in getting food regulations through. So that group of guys that did all those tests, the press called them the Poison Squad.
Okay.
That's where the name comes from. And they used to call Harvey Wiley Old Borax because borax was this cleaning agent that they used to put in the lettuce and different things, which now,
Right.
that sounds insane, but it just goes to show that, when people start talking about deregulating things, I would say be careful what you ask for.
Yeah,
Because
right.
there's a lot of people that'll put things in your food if they can get away with it to save money, and so that's what the Poison Squad was all about, was testing this stuff, and they got legislation passed to make things safer for people, so you could get a gallon of milk and know you weren't going to die.
Jeez. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it says here, when the market calls, you know you must make changes to cut your costs or find the door. Very true, very true. From Poison Squad, lyrics here from Dan Sweigert and the gang at Star Period Star. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for coming on today and taking time to kind of give us a little history about the band and the records that you guys have put out there. Really beautiful, beautiful things to have, and also great music. So we're happy to add it to our collection here at the Wizard.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about this.
Absolutely. Keep us posted on shows. You know, we're happy to give away a pair of tickets and help you promote. And yeah, keep you in our thoughts here at the Wizard. We'll keep you on the shelf so other DJs can play it as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you to you and all the people at ZRD. You know, you guys are the ones that make radio worth listening to.
Oh,
It's really, yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. It's something unique. Uh, what you guys are doing, it's much appreciated over here.
Stan, you know, it's been 51 years this year in July for Wizard, and with a couple little hiatuses, you know, everything has been rolling the same, just trying to play music, freeform radio that's different, not playing the hits, showcasing bands that deserve it, and I think you guys are one of them. So I'm so glad you found me, and that's the beauty of the internet is that we can be connected through music and through our love of the arts. So yeah, keep in touch, keep us posted, and we'll keep you playing on the Wizard. We're gonna play Poison Squad right now, which I'm very interested to hear live on the air.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, come in anytime too. We've got a really cool studio. You can come sign the walls and hang out. Bring the band members if you want.
Great. Great. Sounds good.
Cool. Have a wonderful day. We appreciate your time. You
You
guys,
too.
thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. And this is Poison Squad from Star, period Star, here on The Wizard. So, star, period, star here. We still got Dan with us. I figured I'd keep you around for the tune. I love that song. I love the end of it where it's kind of like a sing along. Everybody get together and yeah, like that's fun.
Yeah, yeah, I get to tell everybody to go woohoo.
Yes.
The very challenging vocal part.
Yeah, but there you go with that audience participation and embracing that. It makes people feel good when they get to participate. So thanks
Yeah.
again. Thanks, Dan, for coming on. I mean, this was really cool. It says on the front cover, none but the brave can eat the fair. And that is from Twilight Saving Time. Tell us what that means, and then we'll let you go. Why did you include that on the cover?
Oh, that was Sean's idea too, actually, to put that in there. But that was right above it. You can kind of barely see the guys in the Poison Squad, the young men in the suits there sitting around the
Yes.
table. So it was just the fare would be the food that Harvey was feeding them because it had all those different chemicals and things in it. So yeah, you had to be a brave guy, I guess, a risk taker to be willing to subject yourself to that.
Very
Um,
brave indeed. Yeah.
and we
Yeah, we
all
hope.
kind of have those guys to thank because they were willing to do that. I don't imagine these days they would allow somebody to do that. I don't know. Uh,
We don't know. Could be quiet experiments we don't know about, but yes, I mean,
yeah,
there's definitely things in foods that still like bother people, people might be allergic to, but to get formaldehyde and borax and things like that out of the food, yeah, I definitely am thanking the Poison Squad, and thanks for waking me up to that because your album is teaching us history that maybe we didn't know about. So that's really cool.
yeah, it's fun too because one thing about the album is put in a lot of little secret little things in there, whether it be different parts of the musical arrangement that if you've listened to it a whole bunch of times, you realize that certain themes reoccur or they get kind of morphed into another song. I was like, oh shit, that's in the. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I hope you
Oh,
can
yeah,
believe that.
we got it. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
people be like surprised sometime. I think it's nice to have those little surprises to discover something after you've listened to something for years. So there's a lot of those little Easter eggs throughout the album, whether it be lyrically or musical ideas that somehow relate to it.
I love that. That's amazing. It's very good album. Definitely looking forward to hearing it again. And like I said, we'll get it added here. So thanks for taking the time during your day. Seriously, and thanks for finding me and thanks for following through and all of that because we really appreciate you and we're happy to showcase this record here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful day and we'll see you next time. Let us know when you have a show. We'll come out and support.
Will do. You
Thanks,
guys have a
Dan.
good one. I'll
Thanks
see
for
you.
all your kind words. We appreciate you. It's
Yeah, thank you.
WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM, the Wizard, Chicago's home for freeform since 1974. Thanks to Dan for tuning in, for coming on the show, and to everyone for making sure